Yeah, we were excited. It's been feels like a long time coming. And personally, as a coach, I'm always feeling like, we're just not prepared completely. Are we ready? Are we not? Did we do everything? And that's just the coach in me. These guys are ready to play. They're anxious to get on the field. They're anxious to face a different pitching staff. They're anxious to pitch to different hitters. I mean, we've covered about everything I can think of. So they're excited. We're excited to get started.
We get started with Eric Bailey.
Patty, it's good to see you again. Just wanted to ask you, and I talked to some of your younger players about this, as they get ready for the freshman to sophomore jump. They had great individual success, great team success last year. How do you prepare them for the new year and a clean slate and new goals?
It's really complicated, really, because there's so many things I can't control of what's going on in their mind. But the most important thing that I know through experience is that you do not look in the rearview mirror. You look out the front windshield and you see what's ahead of you. Don't try to match what you did last year. Don't try to mimic anything or think that you're going to have the same feelings. It's a completely different journey. And the biggest roadblock you can have is if you try to outdo yourself in your performances the year before. And that is where we've gotten into a lot of trouble in the past. We've talked about it a lot. And I mean, these are things that are going to pop up on us as we go along. So we need to be ready and not be surprised by some of these things that might show up, and be ready to handle them. So nothing's going to surprise us. We're going to be ready for anything, whether it's personal issue that a player has because they're trying too hard. We're going to be very in tune and have our hands all over that. So those are things with the younger players, and all specifically 3 of our now sophomores have had phenomenal year, a lot of experience being part of that. And it's interesting because I think it's just natural behavior to want to outdo yourself or live up to what people believe your expectations, like what their expectations are for you. And we got to understand this isn't about trying to please anyone. It's about playing as a team and doing it together and having each other's back. Those are the important parts of this.
Patty, thanks so much for your time today. Good luck.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you. Yep.
We'll go to Ryan Aber.
Yeah, Patty, when we talked, good to talk to you again. When we talked to Nicole earlier, she mentioned the book you had them read. I guess What Drives Winning. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Have you done that much? Had players, read a book over the off season, and why that book specifically? And what lessons did you want them to take from that?
Yeah, I've done it quite a bit in the past, to be honest. It's just getting them to understand that softball and this journey we're about to take is not the end all. It's not the most important thing in the world. It's something that we have the honor and privilege to do. The author of the book is a very good friend of mine, and he's done a lot of work here with the Oklahoma athletic department and a lot of us coaches. And he's been very, very helpful to me. And quite honestly, from a coaching standpoint, his book changed my world. It really changed my world. It allowed me to understand how to meet athletes halfway instead of being the iron fist. It was more of like, let me meet them halfway. That was part of it. But it's really an easy read for an athlete. And I really recommend it for a lot of young athletes who are starting to get into the thick of recruitment. And because there's so much anxiety and just depression because you're not reaching these goals that everyone thinks you should be reaching, whether it's your parents, your coaches, your friends, or just the people out there that are trolling all over. So I think they got a lot out of it. I think it really resonated to them as players as much as it resonated to me as a coach.
And just making sure I got the right book. Is that Brett Ledbetter?
Brett Ledbetter. Actually, we're doing a Zoom with him in about 10 minutes. So he's on with us every couple of weeks, and it's been a really easy conversation with him, very open, and he's really, really good, really good.
How'd you get acquainted with him?
Well, like I said, the University of Oklahoma had heard about him, reached out to him. So he started coming in and like working with coaches. And I just had a lot of questions for him. So his phone, he answers his phone and text messages for me at all times. He puts on his own clinics for coaches, and Bob Stoops has been interviewed, myself, KJ, I believe, some OSU coaches, he's a basketball. He's got a history of basketball. So you have Mike Krzyzewski, you have some elite pro coaches. So he's versed in all sides of sports. He asks some tough questions, and that's what I like. I like to be challenged, and he always does that for me.
Great stuff, Patty. I appreciate it. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
I'll go to Ryan Chapman.
Hey, Coach. Thanks again for sticking with us last Thursday. Sorry again for all of that. But we've asked a lot in the lead up to the preseason of how you are approaching building off last season. We've asked a lot about the players. I was curious for Coach JT and Coach Rocha specifically, what their challenges have been and how they've tackled that, because it seems like they have two different challenges with JT bringing back a lot of the same lineup and Coach Rocha bringing in two new pitchers to the rotation.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They're dealing with completely opposite problems. They're not problems. And Coach Rocha has a new exuberance with the pitching staff. Working with Jordy Ball is something you could really enjoy as a pitching coach, and watching a young incoming freshman and what she's about to embark on this season. And Hope, I've seen Hope's improvement leaps and bounds. So she's really having fun kind of working with new pitchers and reaching their potential. And Nicole May's experience has been off the charts. And I think that's really going to continue to catapult her. Experience is what we have more than anyone else. And you can't buy it, you can't teach it, you can't learn it, you have to live it. And that's what we've been able to do. One thing that JT would be really proud of, the other day we had pitchers throwing live kind of around the snowbound field. And we had a group of 6 live hitters going against, pitchers, one pitcher at a time. And the group of 6 would gather together and talk. I could hear them talking. All right, let's get together. Let's get our game plan together here. And they're coaching each other, and they're learning, and they're talking coach talk. And that is the greatest compliment JT could ever get, is knowing that they're listening and they're learning and they're sharing. He's done a really great job with, we have some new freshmen that we're really trying to get caught up, and it's almost unfair to them because our freshmen are at our sophomores now are such a high level that we're expecting these freshmen get up there, and they get pushed and pushed and pushed, and they're not quite ready, but they'll get there. And that's where has been, as well as making sure that some of these players are not chasing. They're getting really frustrated when they face our pitchers. And why can't I hit like I was, that kind of talk. And we're like, you need to knock that off right now. And that is thinking backwards. And that's what we don't want them to do. So approaches are all over this field. We have different approaches for different players. And I think we're hitting the mark right now.
Thank you, Coach.
Sure.
We'll go to Jenny.
Hey, Patty. Kenny had his media day up at OSU yesterday, and he was mentioning how they've used the Women's College World Series in different ways. Sometimes just pulling the bus into the parking lot early in the year, and sort of just saying, here's where we want to be. Over your time, I'm curious how the Women's College World Series being so close, do you use it differently as motivation? Has it changed over the years as the program has gone from wanting to get there to now, wanting to get there all the time? Like, do you use that carrot in any different ways now or than you did at the start?
At the start, it was just like, it's every player's dream. And it was more of a hope than a reality, I guess. When 2000 hit, it was almost, we shocked the world and we shocked ourselves again, to be honest. So we're a team that's there, not knowing what we don't know. And that was the beauty of it, is we're not playing nervous because we're not even supposed to be here. We don't know to be nervous. Why are we being nervous? That was the beauty of sometimes your first opportunity. And the first opportunity we got there, we won it. It was like, it was almost like, how did we do that? And sometimes I think you can make it too hard. That 2000 team made it almost easy because they had no care in the world. And that to me is the key, is the more you like, we have to, we must, it's our, this is what we don't operate like that. It is an expectation we have, but we don't talk about it a lot because it's built into our championship mindset. If you want to be a champion, that's where you need to end up. So everything that we do practice-wise is just geared to go in that direction without a lot of talk.
Do you see sort of in the, high tides lift all boats sort of mentality that, that event elevated your status, you elevated its status, then the high school players, the talent in the state, the other programs, OSU now being a top 5, maybe a team that, could be there at the end with you guys. I mean, do you sort of see it being that it has all sort of worked in concert to create sort of what we're seeing, that overall excellence now?
Yeah, I just know that you could be watching it from home and go, man, that is my goal, is to be there next year, right? And I see the rise, but there's so much work and you got to put in the right kind of work. And I think that's what I think of schools that have been to the World Series. It's like, once you get that taste, then it's like, okay, there's nothing that's going to stop. Like, we got to feel that again. We got to taste, we got to experience that high again. I think that is really the driving force. I think we are all so competitive. And once you take a drink of the Kool-Aid, it's like you want the gallon. And so not just you, but your players. And there's a little trick to understanding how to get there and what you need at the right time. And fortunately, we've been playing our best softball. Usually we're notorious for playing our best late in the season. I don't know how that works. I don't have a secret formula, except the players know what's at stake. And so anytime we go into, so this weekend we play some big teams, and we know early that it is so important we start talking about seeding now. Who's talking about seeding right now? We want to be one of the top 8. We want to be one of the top 4. So these games are important, although they're happening in February, they're going to make a difference for us. So that's how my mind scrambles. I don't know how others are scrambling in that way, but being in the Big 12, my mind has to scramble that way. Maybe in the SEC, it won't. I don't know. But I don't know if I'm even answering your question, but.
No, that was very helpful. Thank you.
No, it wasn't, but thank
Yeah, it
you.
was. I promise. Would I lie to you? Come on.
Oh, you're just making me feel good before we leave.
Hey, we're all in preseason form.
Okay, okay.
We'll go to Abby Bitterman.
Hi, Patty. Yeah, at the beginning, you mentioned just how at the beginning of the season, you're always nervous about, are they ready? Are we prepared enough? And I was just wondering, especially in these early season games, there's definitely a difference between the numbers on the scoreboard and the way that the team looked on the field and the way that you feel about it after the game. And so I was just wanting to ask what you're kind of hoping to see from this team on the field this, I guess, Thursday and then this weekend, and especially those newcomers, and what you think you might, or what you're hoping to maybe learn about them as a team in these first couple of games.
I think for us, the first game, we want to come in and attack. That is the motto and the motion we're in is attack, set the tone. Kind of like being in a boxing ring, like throwing the first punch, but throwing more punches often and landing them. That is kind of the goal here. Going into this, kind of just building off of that as we go through the weekend. And, we've got prize fights in front of us this early. And I look back a year ago, and I'm at this time of the season, I'm just trying to find someone to play because everything was canceling. And so it's just quite different. It's really a challenge early in the season, which we didn't have last year. And that is something that I'm looking forward to. I don't know how much our newcomers will get a lot of play. I'm going to do my best. I need them to just pay attention and learn the game more than anything. They'll get pieces of it. They'll get bites. They'll get opportunities to get in. The one player, again, that is going to get significant time on the mound is Jordy Ball. And everything about her at practice shows she is concentrated and ready. But when you put her on a different stage where it's real, I'm anxious to see what that looks like for her and if anything changes. But we have really outstanding leadership. And I think like I had said earlier, our upperclassmen are talking the game. So when these freshmen are in the dugout, the game's going to be talked about and they need to listen. And that is keeping their attention and listening and learning and watching. So when it is your opportunity, you are very prepared. So that's kind of what our hope is that if you don't get a lot of playing time, at least you're really watching it in motion and gathering the information. So I got a lot of good players, and that's a lot of players to play in a 7-inning game. And sometimes we're not going to play 7-inning games. So how do I squeeze everybody in a 5-inning game? Those are always challenges, and they're good challenges, but it's still kind of hard because you want everybody to get some opportunity and at bats.
Yeah, and then I also wanted to ask you just your thoughts on the significance of playing in this tournament, with how important the Bat Busters have been as kind of like a pipeline to OU.
This is really big for me, and I'm going to tell you why. Mark Campbell is kind of the assistant coach to the head coach, in the way of the head coach gets all the glory and so forth. But we really know that the grind comes from the assistants. The assistants make the head coaches look great. And that's what Mark Campbell did for the Bat Busters. He was the guy behind the scenes, and he worked with Sid Romero and Fale and Jossie and Tiare and Alyssa Brito and Nicole May, and the list goes on and on and on. But he was working over the last 25 years or more. He worked with my daughter-in-law, Andrea, who's in her 30s. So he's been a presence that I am reaping the benefits of. I am reaping the benefits of his work through TRA and all these players that I just mentioned. So I really felt inclined to want to honor him. And his passing was sudden, and it was heart-wrenching for a lot of players, parents, his coaches as well. So I thought, what better way than to honor him with all of his players on the field where we're playing at Bill Barber Park is where they played the majority of their games. So everything about it just feels right. I'm really excited to be able to honor him in this way.
Thank you, Patty.
Yeah.
Time for a few more. We'll go to Joe Bettner.
Hey, Patty. Just wanted to go back a second when you were talking about the book that you issued to your team, and you mentioned just like meeting your players halfway. When you started your coaching career, is that something you thought about just as far as trying to adapt with the players, trying to be not necessarily a player's coach, but like, striking that balance between this is, we got to take this serious here, but you also don't want to, take away the fun from the game. How much, I guess, of a concerted effort did you have to make to get to a place as a coach where that was something you thought about on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because when I got here, I wasn't a player's coach. I was a push. I was a discipline coach. I didn't let players get away with a lot of things. I just ran a very tight ship. And it's funny because now those players are like, I can't even believe you let your team get away with this, get away with that. I knew that there was a generation change happening, and I knew that my style was not going to fit them. And that's when I knew I had to meet them about halfway. It was probably around the Kaylani Ricketts freshman year time. It was that group that was coming in that I felt different. I felt them different. Not that they didn't work as hard. They just needed to be treated a little bit differently, a little more gently, I guess. I would hope, I think I am much more of a player's coach now than I was. But I also made sure that they knew who I was, whether it's through my stories about my family or my family being around, certain things about me that they know, whether it's music, whether it's whatever it is. I think that important for me to create a relationship with them. And that is what was really different, is that I spent time really talking to each one of them, whether it's over breakfast or in my office or what have you. I really created more of a relationship than I ever have.
Thanks so much, Patty.
Sure.
We'll go Joey Helmer.
Hi, Patty. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, you lost G and Shannon from your pitching staff, which for a lot of programs would be pretty crippling, but all you do, and you've talked about them some, but you bring Jordy in, you bring Hope in, Nicole's a year older and much more accomplished probably than your average sophomore. So how do you feel just about the depth of your pitching staff as a whole?
Well, I like it. And I tell you, honestly, last year we had 7 pitchers. It sounds like a lot of depth, but it just wasn't good enough. So you ended up with 2 to 3 that you were using. And there were times when Giselle was not serviceable. So now we're down to 2 and bringing somebody in who maybe isn't quite ready for it. I feel a very solid 3, and Macy McAdoo was making some waves here as well for a solid 4th if we need that. But she's getting better, and she had injuries that kept her from really showing us what she's capable of. So as barring any kind of injury, I feel very good about our depth, and just the fitness level of our pitching staff is commendable. I'm right. You'll see it when you watch it. You're gonna go, geez, wow. Specifically Jordy Ball. She's just got a fitness level and a strength level I've never seen in a freshman. So we've got to stay away from the injury bug. And also what's kind of nice about Jordy is she's gonna hit for us as well. So it's been a while since I've had a pitcher that has done both. And we're looking forward to that.
Go last one to Jason.
Hey, Coach. You passed out the book, early in the season, and for a lot of players, it was a hard reset for them. Kind of walk me through what you've seen from Nicole May this offseason and her growth as a player.
I feel like I said, if there's anyone that really benefited from experience, it was Nicole May. And I'm going to tell you why. The experiences were not always easy. They were not always good for her. And Nicole May takes things very, very hard, and she wears it for too long. And I think this book has taught her really to understand that through failure, you really learn how to grow up, mature, how you handle it, kind of bleeds into other parts of your life. And it's just really becomes a waste of time. And that's where this reset has come in, where why waste time grumbling about it, get over it and get your mind set faster so we're not wasting time. And those are some of the things I think Nicole May has really felt through this experience.
Was there any moments specifically last season that you can point to where you felt like she did that a lot?
Early in the season, she wasn't getting what she wanted. She wasn't happy with it. But she'll tell you as well, Georgia, that trip to Georgia was a game changer for this entire program. But specifically for Nicole, she didn't finish the game the way she wanted to, and that really bothered her. And she hung on it, but eventually she turned it around. And if she didn't do that, then we probably wouldn't have finished as Big 12 champions and so forth. She saved us in some big moments when we didn't have our upperclassmen or those particular pitchers pitching at their best. Nicole May became just a tough competitor, and that experience led her right into postseason, and she carried us a lot through the postseason as well. So I think she learned a lot of lessons, and that one Georgia game was the ultimate lesson learner for her.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a bunch, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. See ya soon.